What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone for the live show. It's been a while. Actually, it's been more than a week or so. My last live show was a week from like Thursday, last week Thursday. So it's been a while, but I'm finally back during international break, which is always kind of tough. Yeah, not gonna lie, especially first, international break, 3 games into the season, and it's already international break. It is what it is. It's boring. It's not fun, and it's actually not really helping Thiago Motta at this moment in time. But we're gonna talk about because the title of the show is Step Up, and we need to step up right now because now the season really kicks off. It obviously did kick off. I know that, but right now it's there's no real time to, how do you want to call it, adjust, more so, or like to get used to things, even though we know that we need time to adjust. We need time to get used to certain things, with the players coming in late. However, it's Empoli on Saturday. It's PSV, a couple of days after that, I think Tuesday we play, so like 2-3 days after Empoli, it's already PSV. Then you go at home against Napoli, Genoa away, always tough, and then you go away to Leipzig. So it's really time to step up. And with step up, I mean actually find consistency in what we're trying to do right now, because that got kind of broken against Roma. If we're being completely honest, that consistency was not really there in that game, and that's kind of the big talking point right now, because after that game, and by the way, people, smash the like button and subscribe, but after the Roma game, which was predictable, very predictable, a lot of people, like even fans, but especially media, started to doubt what we are trying to do, which is ridiculous because it's match day 3. It's, what is it, the second week of September, just about, to actually really have, or like to start doubting what we're trying to do is weird right now, because I would understand doubts if this was December, or the end of November, whatever, and people starting to have doubts about what we're trying to do. I would say, you know what, I kind of agree, or I can see why you will have certain doubts about what we're trying to do right now. However, it's match A3, and the doubts are not even about, Thiago Motta. The doubts, which is funny enough, are about players and what the role. So maybe it's about Motta, but what the roles of certain players are in the team. And if you watch that Roma game, which all of you did, obviously, we started that game with who? Who was a new signing in that team? Was it Cabal? Was a new signing in the team, and Di Gregorio on goal. That was about it. And in the second half, he was like, okay, let me chuck in Gonzalez. Let me chuck in Coat Miners. Let me chuck in Conceição, Gonzalez later on. However, these guys never really played. Not never really. They never played together. Like, actually, never. They never ever played together. And to come out after that game, because I was at the stadium, so I watched talk shorts, sports shows the following day, and usually I don't really listen to that, but I was like, I need to see what they have to say, especially after the first, how do you want to say, hiccup, even though it's the third game of the season. I wanted to see what they had to say. I wanted to hear what these journalists and media people had to say about Juve right now. And what they had to say was it was ridiculous, because it was about questioning what Motta was doing with certain players. And the certain players were Conceição, were Coat Miners, and I was like, these guys just came in. Like, Coat Miners came in a couple of days before that Roma game. Conceição, about a week before that Roma game, started the training, basically the week that we played Roma. Same goes for Nico Gonzalez. So the pressure was always going to be on Thiago Motta. But this is not pressure what the media is doing. What the media is doing is actually trying to create a narrative that's not really there. The narrative that it's kind of weird. It's pointless. There's no need to say this would have been different last season. Actually, fans were talking about, oh, we would have won that game against Roma last season with Allegri. We failed to win. We won 2 games out of 12. Which sane person actually looked at that Roma game and was like, man, with Allegri, we would have won that. The only way people are saying that because they have an agenda and they want to do we would have won that. We didn't. We didn't win that. We failed last season. We were horrible last season. If anyone wants to rewrite history, you can do that, but you're an idiot if you're trying to do that, because we're not even close to doing anything last season. That being said, this week is massive. From next week, it's massive because you kick off the post international break against Empoli, which is very important, because that Empoli team, again, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Empoli team is fantastic, but they already have 5 points in that league. They have 5 points for a reason. They have those amount of points not because they got lucky, but because they're a well organized team at this moment in time. Maybe towards the end of the season they're rubbish and they're fighting relegation again. Who knows? They probably should with that squad. However, if you watch that game, see, like, they played some decent games. They played Roma, and they won away to Roma, by the way. They played Bologna. Is Bologna good this season? Are they not so good this season? Who knows? But again, Empoli are tipped to be a relegation side. They will not, and away to Empoli is never an easy game. It's always actually it's a horrible game to watch. Usually going away to Empoli, even if we win games at Empoli, and we do win games at Empoli, they're not fun games. You watch those games and you're like, at the end, that's me personally, at the end of those games, when the games are over, I'm always looking at those games. I'm like, I'm actually happy we're done with that. It's a bit like playing Verona away. This season it was fun, but usually when the game is over, I'm like, thank God we got that out of the way this season. Thank God we don't need to go away to Verona again, or Genoa, same Sampdoria, like those type of teams. So Empoli, it is a big test in the sense of, you won the first 2 games. It was all, good and fun. 3-0, 3-0. It was dominating. The games were kind of over at the first half. You always had a feeling that, yeah, we're going to win that game no matter what. And then the Roma game hits, where it was extremely tough to actually create something. You tried in the second half, but at the end of the game, you come out of that game and you're like, okay, it's a point, and it's a decent point, because looking at that game, that was about it. There was no win in that for any team. So you take that point, even though you're still disappointed. But right now, you cannot afford to go away to Empoli and not win. You just can't. You absolutely cannot afford to go away to Empoli and come out of that game with even 1 point. No matter the circumstances, no matter what happens throughout those 90 minutes, you need to come away from that Empoli game with the 3 points, purely because everybody watched that Roma game and it was like, ooh, is this it? And then to flip it around, on Tuesday you play PSV. We didn't play Europe for a season, not our fault, by the way. That was out of players' control, out of the fans' control, for sure. But you play PSV at home, a game that there will be a lot of pressure on that PSV game. Not because you're Juve, obviously because of your Juve, but you've been away for a season. You spent a lot of money, or you brought in a lot of players. You got a new coach, so on, and you play at home. Opening game of the new Champions League model. You play PSV at home. Everybody is expecting a win, me included. And we'll preview the PSV game, and I watch PSV a lot of the time, so everybody can say, oh, they're a very good team, and they are a good team, but they're a team you should be beating. So the pressure is on us again, because we need to win. The angle the media will take going into that game, and that's why I think it's very important for these players to actually win that game, is if you just look at it in a whole. You have Di Gregorio. You have Thiago Motta. He never coached in the Champions League. Played, obviously. You have Di Gregorio. Never played in the Champions League. You have Cabal never played in the Champions League. You have Cambiasso, never played in the Champions League. You know, you have Douglas Luiz, never played in the Champions League. Thuram, Cope Miners did, but the other guys, did Cope Miners? I think he did. No, he didn't do with Atalanta. I think he just missed out, or did he? Oh, I have some doubts about that right now. But you have Conceição did. Nico Gonzalez didn't play in the Champions League. You have a team going into that Champions League campaign, and again, PSV is around the corner basically. The narrative the media will take, or the angle the media, not the narrative, the angle the media will take is that you're going into that Champions League game with a lot of players who are unexperienced, but especially the head coach on that level. He never coached in the Champions League, and now he's coaching a group of players who are relatively young. You know, the age is actually relatively young, especially for a club like Juve, a recent history. But now you're going into the Champions League game with a very unexperienced crop of players, and you need to make it work. You need to win that first PSV game, because you cannot go these stretch of games with not winning against Roma, not winning against Empoli, and not winning against PSV. You know, because then the narrative will change into facts. The facts are you're not winning the games you should be winning right now. Even though it's earlier on the season, quality is there. It needs adjustment. It needs time. And with time, I mean, I don't think this team or these players, whatever, need time to beat Empoli. I think they need time to play consistent football, or play a style of football consistently week in, week out. That's a time I'm talking about. Not the time needing to beat Empoli or PSV, you know, in some way. You know, find a way to win those games because there's quality enough. What I think about time is that you play a certain way, basically, and the next week you play that certain way again. And the following week, again. And the same players are doing the same things over and over again. The same patterns, coming from the same place, coming from the same players. That's what I'm talking about when we just need time. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Because we can win games, and we should be winning games pure on quality. Because we have more quality than a lot of these teams. We have more quality than Roma. We have more quality than Empoli. We have more quality than PSV, Genoa, Leipzig. But they're not going to be walkover games, you know. So the pressure will be on, obviously. But it's good pressure. Like last season, on this channel especially, how many times that we came on and we talked about, man, like, name the game. We didn't beat, I don't know, who didn't we beat? We didn't beat Empoli or Udinese or Verona. And it was always the same. It was, okay, now we need to wait 1 week before we can actually play another game and be like, okay, we can pick it up again. But you have an entire week to actually sit back and think about, man, how did we fail to beat Empoli or Udinese or Verona? How did we manage to do that? You know, and you had a whole week to think about. Right now, the good news is, if you don't beat Empoli, you have a shot 2-3 days after with PSV. If that doesn't happen, well, you have a new shot with Genoa. So that's a positive for me personally. The negative can be, like, you can go into a negative spiral really quickly. Because if you are in a bad period, last season, a bad period was a week in between. Right now, a bad period is 3 days in between. You know, it gets worse and worse and worse. So this is why it's time to step up. And also, this is why I'm actually excited to actually watch the next couple of weeks, because I want to see how these players react when things are not going their ways. And yes, things didn't go their way with Roma. However, there's a 2-week international break, so we don't have any idea, we don't have any proof, we don't have anything to go off and say, but these players are going to react in that way, because 2 weeks in between, how much evidence, like if we go out there against Empoli and we win and we smash them about and we win 3-0, whatever, we don't still have the idea of, okay, is this because it was a 2-week break? Or is this because actually they can react to a bad result? More so about that 2-week break, you know? So that's why I'm actually looking forward to. But it's time to step up. You know, there's room for excuses. Not excuses, but, yes, players need to gel in, all those things. So if you want to call that an excuse, fine. I think that's just reality. I don't think court miners will be on par. I was at the game. I was at the stadium against Roma, and again, things you see on TV and things you see at the stadium are day and night. Because a player like Imbangula, who had a poor game, I saw people overreacting as well. The issue in that Roma game is the issue I've been talking about, I don't know, all summer long, and people forget about it. We need a ball playing center back. It's as simple as that. It was a main target, and we failed to get it. I don't care what people say. You went for Calafiori, it didn't happen. You went for Todibo, it didn't happen. If you're telling me it was not a main target, then fine, but you're lying. Because if that wasn't a main target, we wouldn't have been pushing for those two type of players. It was a main target. And that was the reason we really struggled. Because Roma weren't good. They didn't do anything special. They were just extremely disciplined to keep Fagioli. And Fagioli kind of helped, Roma, because he was horrible, to be honest. He was really poor. And keep Locatelli as much as possible out of that game and let the center backs play. And let the center backs try to ping those passes. And obviously they couldn't. They can't, we can do it. We can play that game with that team, with that setup 1,000 times in that first half. We were never going to score. It's as simple as that. With time, we might find a solution. But right now, that's it. A player like Cambiasso, who wasn't a winger, but was playing as a winger, Imbangula, were free. And it was actually unbelievable to see. But Roma just let them stay free for a very obvious reasons. They just packed the middle. They condensed the middle, and they kind of dared Bremer and Gatti to pin that ball to Cambiasso or Mbangula. And that was never, ever going to happen. I know that. De Rossi knows that. And it was very simple. It was very effective. That's why I said we needed a ball-playing center back. That should have been a priority, and we failed to bring that in. And that, for me, was a big... I guess frustrating. It really is frustrating, because I was at that game and I was like, man, you can come for Mbangula and say he was poor, but how many real opportunities? Usually, you give him opportunities again and again and again, and he will succeed in most of those opportunities. But right now, on the ball, he wasn't good, but he had a few opportunities. He had nothing, So that is something that, again, over time, with time, I'm assuming Thiago Motta finds a solution to, I don't know, bridge that fact that he didn't get a ball playing center back. You chuck in Colt Miners, which is cool, but he just arrived a couple of days ago. He was directing traffic. I don't know how many hand signals he was making to his teammates, telling them, you need to make that run, you need to cut inside, you need to, you need to overlap so many times. And it didn't happen. I remember one pass he was trying to give, and he was pointing for ages, even before he got that ball. And when he got that ball, he pinned that. And I might be wrong. I'm not sure about that. But I thought it was Cambiasso. I'm not sure about that. Who didn't catch that run, And if he just sniffed that out, and it was very easy. It wasn't something spectacular. If he just kept on running as he should, and as he probably will over time, that would have been just a clear one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He could have laid it, whatever, but it failed, and it looked like an extremely poor pass from Colt Miners, but it was just miscommunication because, again, he just came in, Colt Miners, a couple of days before. It was never going to be the case. He was never coming in, and it will all be on point. So the narrative after the game was like, oh, he brought up Conceição and Colt Miners, Gonzalez, and it didn't work. Obviously, it was not going to work, This is not... FIFA, this is real life, A player like Conceição, for example, who is out, by the way, for another 2-3 weeks, which is, it is what it is right now, and it's sad, it's frustrating, but this is Juve, and these things happen at Juve. That's very normal for us right now. However, that was also a fault for us. But again, it's very early, but he was the only guy. If we were gonna win that game against Roma, which I don't think we were, but if there was a slight chance we were going to win that game, it was coming from Conceição. We failed in that game to just hand them the ball over and over and over and just keep feeding Conceição. Even if it failed, give it again, give it again, give it again. We failed to do that. There was one period of time, I think in about a good 12 minutes where he didn't even touch the ball, and he was wide open so many times. Just received the ball, even if it wasn't further on his own half a little bit rather than closer to the box. It didn't matter. We failed to give him the ball consistently, and when giving him the ball, I mean just every possibility, you just play him to Conceição. We didn't do that, and that was also frustrating because again, you brought him on. Every time he touched the ball, you were like, okay, if something is gonna happen, it's coming from him, and that was the only way. But there were so many times where it was just like play him into Conceição. Like you can dance around on the ball and play it sideways and try to flip the script, and play it to Cambiasso and cross it this and this. But it was very easy to just play it to Conceição and tell him, you know what, make it work. Even if because people like Chiesa, and I like Chiesa. Hit the like button, by the way, really quickly. Only 17 likes, so push the like button up. But a lot of people like Chiesa. Conceição and Chiesa are similar in the fact that if you give Chiesa the ball 10 times on the wing, he will take on his opponent 10 times. Even if he fails the 4 times, he will do it again and again and again. And Conceição is the same player. If you give him the ball, he will take on his opponents again, again, and again, and again. And he can lose it, but he will do it again. That's what you needed to do. If you have those type of players, and we have one of those players right now, you just need to feed him the ball. He's out, obviously, Conceição. We cannot do anything really about that. I get it. That it is what it is right now. But that's the type of player he is, Don't ask him to, in my opinion, push up the field, because he was extremely high, playing high against Roma. Like, he was a very good... Like, he was picking up a lot of places where I'm like, okay, if you give him the ball right now, something might happen. And we failed to do that. But again, that's time, If we play that Roma game in week 10, I'm not saying we're winning that. However, it could be a game where we created more chances than we did right now. Because being honest, we created nothing. In that the first shot from Vlahovic in the first half was kind of half-half. Decent save, but that's about it. We didn't create anything in that Roma game, and you can be frustrated about it. I was frustrated about it. I'm not really worried about it because again, game day 3, we will see how that will how that will work out. In the next couple of weeks, obviously. However, we have a lot of potential in that team. But it needs time. It needs time in crunch time. This is crunch time, and it is what it is. But playing every 3 games will definitely help this team to actually, trial and error. Do things. It doesn't work. Fine. Next week we do this. We try this again until it works. I think we're gonna win 3. Ooh, why is the chat not coming up? Give me 1 sec. Why is the chat not coming up? Let me see. Okay, I think we're going to win 3-0 against Empoli, just like we did against Verona. Well, that would be brilliant, but I don't think it's going to be that type of game, to be honest. They keep things very very close, Empoli. They're that sort of team right now. Juve need a sort of 5-win against Empoli to remind Europe we're back. Well, we hope, but even if we win 5-0 against Empoli, I don't think Europe are gonna think we're back. It's Empoli for them. We're also two very first game and the first team to kick off the new Champions League format. All eyes on Juve. Oh, you mean you were the first game to play the first Champions League game? Are we the first team that kick off? I know we played the early slot, which is ridiculous. Like the time of that game is absolutely poor. The timing of that game is absolutely frustrating. It's just people are just getting back from work. It's a horrible time. Are we the first team and the only team to kick off that? Let me see. Oh, Young Boys play as well against Aston Villa. But yeah, we are the first one. So all eyes will definitely be on us. You said the same thing about Verona. I see us whooping Empoli. Yeah, I said the same thing about, and we whooped their asses. But I couldn't know that going into that game. And the first 50 minutes, Verona were frustrating us until we find a way in, and then it was very easy for us. But and it was surprising to me. because we usually don't do that. And if we do that against Empoli, fantastic. But I don't see us doing that against Empoli. I think it will be a very close game, which is fine. I just need a win. I just need a comfortable win. Like 1-0 can be a comfortable win. By the way, you can win 1-0 and come out of that game and be like easy, because we've done it in the past. We won games 1-0 where I came on the show, even with our Lakers, it was like, it was horrible to watch, but I never had a feeling that opponent was going to come back or we're not going to win that game, even if it was 1-0. We were in control. So I'm fine with that. I don't need us to win 5-0, 3-0, 4-0 every single week. I just need us to be dominant in a performance where I'm like, even if it's 1-0, yeah, we were on top. From start to finish, we were always going to win that game. That's what I'm looking for right now. Empoli, PSV. If we win in a different way and we win in a spectacular fashion and we dominate, even better. But right now, I'm not really looking forward to that. I'm not really looking for that right now. I'm just looking at, can we win that game? Can we please win that game and kickstart that Champions League also with a win? Because then it's Napoli. That's again a massive task. The most important thing is to understand what didn't work against Roma. I hope the game was good. What didn't work was very easy. Again, I've explained it. Roma just told our center backs to play the ball, and they couldn't. Like, it's very simple what they did, especially in that first half. In the second half, we tried to step up the pitch, which kind of did, but it wasn't easy when you chuck in just players who just arrived. It was not very easy, but we looked more capable in that second half, and that was purely because you had a direct threat with Conceição. You had a better control of that midfield. Roma opened up a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. But what didn't work against Roma was they just told, you midfielders, you win us the game. And Fagioli was terrible in that game, and Locatelli got subbed. Not really sure. I thought he had a good game again. And that's about it, And that's about it. We need 3 wins minimum in the next 4. Champions League, Empoli and Napoli. I can take a draw at the Marassi. I need 4 wins. I'm not gonna lie. Genoa are not a good team. I know going away to Genoa or Sampdoria is never really easy. You win that game 3-0 or you absolutely get frustrated from start to finish. But Genoa are not a good team, so I need a win against Genoa as well. That Napoli game is a big test. That PSV game is a must win, obviously, because it's you open up the new season and you play at home. Like, the games won't get easier. I think I'm convinced Leipzig is tougher. Aston Villa, Man City, those are tough matchups. So you definitely need to win against PSV. But to win against PSV, you need to have a good feeling against Empoli, because you kind of left the international break, not with a bad feeling, but like just a weird feeling where I'm like, and probably the players will be like, not the best of games, not a game where a lot of things went wrong. Because even, I was at the Roma game, and I was looking at it, and again, we were not brilliant at all, but I was watching Roma, and I was like, these guys are never going to score again. Also, they're just never going to score. If we were never going to score, these guys are definitely not going to score, because on the ball, they absolutely had no quality. I'm sorry. We had Sule, who made a couple of runs in that first half down the middle, but other than that, there was no real quality in that game, So, I think the players coming out of that game were like, okay, not a lot of things worked for us. Actually, nothing really worked for us. And now we need to come back against Empoli, and we need to have answers. The good news was that Conceição was there, but he got injured. But Koopmeiners stayed, and he probably will start. You have Douglas Luiz, so that will be the positives. That probably against Empoli we'll see a different midfield. We will see a midfield that's gonna be the midfield, the quote-unquote starting midfield, where it's like, okay, these guys are going to be key players, I think Fagioli's going to start. I don't think Fagioli's going to start, nor do I think he deserves to start based on the previous 2 games, and he was out for a year. He needs to pick up speed. I get it, I like Fagioli. I don't go overboard with Fagioli like a lot of people do. I don't think he's that type of player right now at all. But he wasn't good. Against Verona he was anonymous. Against Roma, I thought he was really poor, to be honest. I'm not expecting Fagioli to play against Empoli. I'm not expecting him to play against PSV. Especially when you have players training with Thiago Motta for all 2 weeks basically, leading up to that Empoli and PSV game. I don't see that happening. So it will be a different dynamic. Again, it will be a different dynamic than what we have seen from Juve in the last couple of days. We've seen a different Juve. We've seen Bangula play, and Savona probably, who played well against Roma defensively, was brilliant, and he surprised me, Savona. But if we were being completely honest, you want to see Cambiasso in his natural position. You don't want to see him as a winger, and we're not going to see him as a winger, because you brought in wingers to do his job. So that's probably going to be one of those changes. I'm assuming. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays Savona and Cambiasso on the wing again, and he just brings another winger. I wouldn't be surprised, but it doesn't sound ideal if you want to actually build on certain things, But yeah, if you can pick a draw, which one would it be, Napoli or Genoa? It doesn't matter because we were dropping 2 points, so pick your poison, I guess. For me, it doesn't matter, because if you win against Napoli, it's like, oh my god, and then you go away to Genoa and you don't win, you're like, what was the point, And if you don't win against Napoli and you go to Genoa, the feeling is like, yeah, we should be beating Genoa. So, for me, we need to win. We just need to win, It doesn't matter which. A draw is a draw. If it's against Napoli or Genoa, you drew. If you pick up a draw against City, that's a different type of feeling where it's like, okay, they are the much better team. They're probably the best team in the world, up there, if not the best. If you draw against Man City, I think the players will come out of that game and be like, fair play. Unless you dominated that game and you didn't win, then it's frustrating. But if you come out of that Man City game with a draw, all of us will take it, and the players will take that. If you tell a lot of fans before that City game, you can just pick up a draw, will you sign for that? I think a lot of fans were like, yeah, just pick, get the draw and we move on, So if you ask me that question, I can see, yeah, you pick up the draw against City, but against Napoli or Genoa, I don't need a draw. 4 clean sheets and 4 will be valuable as well. Yeah, that's one of those points where when we brought in Motta, I think people were like, we're going to play champagne football. It's not that. Like, Motta's teams are very stubborn in terms of they don't give you a lot of opportunities. They're very disciplined, and they're extremely effective, They finish these chances, which we did in the first 3 games. Obviously, the first 2 games. It's not that we created chance after chance after chance after chance. We were just very clinical in those first 2 games, which is cool, good, you take that. But Motta's teams are that. They're defensively well drilled. Everybody works hard. Everybody knows what to do. And when you play football and when they attack, it's clear. It's not, get that ball to Kostic or Cuadrado was there and just whip it in and see what happens. Or, what, Chiesa, you beat that guy 1v1 and make it happen. It's different, So the 4 clean sheets thing, or the 3 clean sheets right now, is a valuable thing. And if anyone remembers the live I did, I think it was first week of August, maybe, I said in these first 3 games of the season, I want to see a very solid team. I want to see a very solid team. And that's what I saw. A very solid team. Against Como, against Verona, against Roma, we saw a very solid Juve side. Against Roma, obviously, offensively, it wasn't good enough. But defensively, we did what we had to do. We absolutely did what we had to do, And I'm cool with that because, again, a lot of players just came in and you need to integrate them. If you're just solid and you work from there, that's your base right now. And you add a Colt Miners. And next week, you add a Douglas Luiz and a Conceição and a Gonzalez. And you build on that week by week. But you remain solid. That's a good recipe to get back to the top. If you go out there and you're all over the place and you're chucking in Conceição and Colt Miners, let's see what works, and you have an issue. So being solid is cool. It's not a shame, So 4 clean sheets will be fantastic. And I think it's very possible. I really think it's very possible. I could see him playing Cambiasso left back as Savona right back against Empoli. Ooh. Yeah, Cabal didn't have a good game against Roma, especially on the ball. Actually, also off the ball. Like, he was getting cooked a few times, and he was getting cooked purely because he wasn't picking up his runs. Very weird, but seeing it live, yeah, he was getting cooked. So he got subbed, and he rightfully got, should be getting subbed because it wasn't looking good. To be honest, two sentences on the Italy game. Two, they were good. They were actually brilliant. Set up perfectly, and they did what they had to do. So good for them. Hopefully, no injuries for our players, and I'm absolutely cool with that. What's your favorite mold of manager? Ange mold, Motta mold, or Mourinho mold? Oh, definitely not Mourinho mold. And you can say he won the trophies, but I don't think the success he had, I don't think you can replicate it with his style of football in this era. So not. Oh, Ange mold is too much for me. It's very attractive to watch, but you know what it is? He has one style, and no matter what players he has, he will play that style. He doesn't dial it back, where he's like, okay, now I just need to dial it back a little bit because I don't have those players, and think about what can I do. So that's why I prefer a Motta mold, where it's balanced. It's balanced. It should be balanced. Our Motta with Bologna, it is balanced. It was balanced, so I'm assuming it will be balanced with us. So I'd rather have that than Ange going gun hole and forgetting that, you actually also need to be solid. You also need to defend, And with Mourinho, it's too much. I don't think that's going to work right now. I don't think it's going to work. As a manager, is it easier to affect the offensive side of things or the defensive side? I think the defense, in my opinion, because, again, you can set up low blocks and you can just drill that team to run. Again, you need quality. You need to have smart players. If you just put out bozos out there who don't pick up a simple run week in, week out, then you're getting cooked, obviously. But offensive football, in my opinion, yes, you need patterns of play and so on. But at the end of the day, that really comes down to real quality, individual qualities and players just being naturally talented. More so than, setting up defensively with a low block. Then, yeah, you can have a good defend. But, like, how many low blocks have we seen and we couldn't beat them? And you look at the opponent, you're like, I don't rate any of these players, but they set up on a low block and we are cooked. We cannot break them down. The flip side is, up front, they stink. Because they don't have individual quality, and that's why they set up in a low block. So I think it's more difficult to the offensive thing. Would you rather pay a coach to create 10 chances a game of consistency or 60% of clean sheets? I'll pay a coach to win. If that's with 60% clean sheets, fine. If that's with creating 10 chances a game, fine. I just want to win. If Motta wins every week 1-0 and we win a title, I'm cool with that. If Allegri did that, I'm cool with that. However, that was never going to happen with Allegri. That was, it was obvious that was never going to happen. No matter what players we gave him, it was done. It was just not going to happen. It was extremely outdated. So I just want to win. Give me a coach who wins. I don't care if it's with 10 clean sheets, with 1 clean sheets on the season. At the end of the season, I want to see a trophy. That's all I want to see. Actually, it's very normal. I think everybody wants to see that, not just me. But yeah, let's see, guys. Let's see the next couple of weeks how it will turn out. 1 week of international break. Gonzalez. Actually, he has no injury, Gonzalez. He's back. He should be back. Timothy Aria should be back. Thuram should be back. Milik is almost back. Conceição is definitely out for a couple of weeks. So that's the bad news. But I'm looking forward to next Saturday. We play 6 o'clock, Empoli and then PSV. I think that's the game everybody's looking forward to the most, especially me. Champions League back at home, kickstart the season. It should be a positive day. Let's see if it will be a positive day. But yeah, guys, this one is done. This is it for me. I will be back live tomorrow with Norbert to see what we can talk about tomorrow. Game week. Jonathan David. Oh my God. We just finished talking about transfers. I don't really want to talk about transfers. It's finally over. But he's a free agent. Giuntoli likes him, so it's 1 + 1 = 2. So let's see if anything happens. I would say keep more an eye out on him for January rather than the summer, because if a lot of teams are in for him and Vlahovic doesn't really show up, or Milik is very injury prone, throughout the next couple of weeks, then keep an eye on him, for a January move. And that's not really an exaggeration. But yeah, that's it for me, people. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow. Daily news show, and also a live show with Norbert. Stay tuned for that.